Hello everyone, welcome back. Apparently, by mistake, I clicked on the wrong button and I stopped the video. So we'll continue with what we were discussing in this session. So this is not a separate session; this is the same session. It's just that I've been a bit clumsy. I stopped the video and I have to record it again. Yeah. So rather than starting from the beginning, let's start from where we left off. So we're discussing about journals, indexing, impact factors, and more. So we were discussing on the point of open access journals, and in that context I was telling you about the RSI group that we run a separate publishing website called the restpublisher.com. So in that we have a few journals. All the journals are open access, but we do not charge any money from the authors. Rather, the rest publishers or the RSRI society that we have, it sponsors all your papers. It sponsors all your papers so that they are freely available to the readers. It is indexed in a Google Scholar. So the all the RSRI journals that we have are open access, but we do not charge any money from the authors. They are being funded by the, or they are being sponsored by the RSRI group. So that is basically another model of the open access, where the in open access the basic idea is that the paper that you publish or the paper that you have written is freely available to all the readers out there. It is freely available to them, but since there is certain cost associated with the publishing business, so someone has to pay them. So either the author pays it in some open access journals, or in some open access journals there may be a separate sponsoring body, like in our case, the RSRI Society. So, and there is a third type of journal which you should exclusively stay away from. These are the predatory journals, but as such, there is very limited understanding among the researchers amongst us, and there is very and these predatory journals also come up with very nice and techy tactics to trap us. So we should always try to stay away from the predatory journals. In the later half of this session, in the next half of this session, I will discuss how we can spot some predatory journals, how we can stay away from them. Okay, what are the some things that we should look at while selecting a journal, so that we can make sure that these are not predatory journals. So we'll discuss more on the predatory journals but basically the objective of these predatory journals is that they are not interested in the advancement of science. They are not interested in anything. They're just interested in making money. And there are two reasons why you should not publish in predatory journals. First reason is that they have no prestige associated with them. If suppose say you are publishing in a you're publishing in you're publishing in a journal, and you want that you have some done beautiful research, and you want that this should get the sufficient praise that it deserves. Your work should get the praise it deserves, and it should help the scientific community. But those both of these will not be fulfilled if you publish in a predatory journal, because serious researchers tend to look at researchers who publish in predatory journals in a very bad way. So they do not. Your particular work will lose its value if you publish in these predatory journals. That is the first thing. And the second reason why you should not publish in these predatory journals is because these predatory journals are myopic. What I mean by myopic is that they have a very short-term vision. Their only objective is to make money. And what will happen is that after certain amount of time, when this journal is no longer viable for them to sustain, they suppose say now they are earning money from it. If suppose say because of some rules in the future, or because of some whatever the level of maturity of the researchers, it doesn't get sufficient number of papers. When what we will do, it will stop maintaining its website, or it will stop maintaining its database. So what will happen is that whatever paper you have published already with them, that will be no longer available to the scientific community, and your entire work is gone. So that these are the two reasons why you should not publish in the predatory journals. First, because they have no prestige associated. These kind of papers that are published in the journals, in predatory journals, have no prestige associated with them. And the second thing is that you never know when your paper will be unavailable to the readers, because they do not have any standard practices. This kind of journals do not have any long-term vision and do not have any standard practices. So recently there was a study that was conducted by uh, researcher, and it was published in a journal called the Science. Science is one of the uh, most impactful journals out there in the scientific community. So in that he studied the different kind of models that we have, and he, for example, the open access model, the subscription model, and so on. And he kind of tried to break down the costs that are involved in the publishing business. And it is generally seen that the subscription journals that we have are the most expensive. Anyhow, we never know how expensive they are, because these our institute or the uh, university that we're working in, it pays for them. But generally, these subscription based models or the subscription based journals are the most expensive ones. For example, here you can see here they have given, for example, uh, suppose say this is the total cost, this is the average cost. He has done a study, and based on this, suppose say this is the average cost of a uh, subscription based journal, this is the average cost of a online journal, and this is the average cost of a open access online journal, and this is the average cost of a subscription based open subscription online journal only. Here they are publishing both the print copy as well as the online copy, and here they are publishing only the online copy, and this is a subscription journal. Again, it is a limited access journal, and this is an open access journal where they are publishing only in the online mode. Online mode means it is only available in the only available on their website or different kinds of uh, websites in the internet, but it doesn't have any print copy associated with it. But this kind of print and online journals have some print copy, and the subscribers who have subscribed to the print copy, they will get a hard copy of the journal also. So generally what we see here is that the particular portion that is shown here in the gray, this is the peer reviewing part, or uh, this is the price that would have been involved in the peer review. But as I told you, most of the peer reviewers or most of the journals do not pay for peer review or for reviewing any paper. So this cost is nil in all the journals. So he has shown that this cost is nil. And then there is something called the article processing charges. So article processing charges, they arrive from different kinds of reasons. Because in most of the subscription journals, what we do is that they have a very specific layout. They have a very beautiful layout. So we as authors, we do not make our papers, or we do not arrange our papers in those layout. So we just submit our paper to the journal in any format, and after acceptance of the paper, the journal arranges it as per their format. It does all kind of activities like arranging the text and everything. So the layout arrangement and the typesetting it does. So based on that, it has some cost. Similarly, this cost is also there in the online mode, but in online mode we have a little more flexibility with the layout and all that, because in the online mode we have a little more flexibility with this all this, because for example in the print mode, when you are printing something in color, a colored figure that you have, you're printing in color, so obviously the cost is going to be more. So here the article processing charges are a little more. And then there are certain other costs like the for example, other costs may include, for example, each of the journals may submit their submit their journals for indexing to different kinds of websites like the SCI and the Scopus. So there are also some kind of maintenance charges and all that they have to give. There may be other kind of charges like the maintenance of the equipment, and there may be some kind of charges based on the services like the DOI, digital objective identifier. So we'll talk about what DOI is. DOI is again a very important concept. So we'll talk about DOI, what DOI is. So based on that, and there is again the margin part. Margin is means the profit. So we see that in subscription journals, the margin is the highest, or they keep their profit very high. And generally in the online mode, because the open access online mode, they are more they have a less amount of margin, but the objective here is that the vision for the open access journal is generally that they are going to publish a lot more volume than the subscription based journals. So in the long run they will make the profit. This, hey, you should read this paper. This is a beautiful paper, and I think it should be available. So, open access: the true cost of science publishing. So, this is a 2013 study. So, over the last few years, it has seen that the world has progressed from the subscription. Conventionally, there were only subscription-based journals, but now more and more journals are becoming open access. And this was again a separate study that was done to see the cost of open access. And in this, you can see that the cost of open access for the authors, they generally range from 250 US dollars to suppose say as high as 3,000 US dollars. Okay, and in this side, he has shown the number of the journals that are available in this price range. So there are around 300 journals. Again, this is a data that has been that is from 2014. So this value has now significantly gone up. And there is something again called the delayed open access. What is delayed open access and what is immediate open access? Immediate open access means that today your paper is published. As soon as it is published, it is directly available to the readers to free of cost. And delayed open access is something that some subscription based journals also follow. What they do is that, suppose say you have sent a paper, and now for the next 2 years they will put an embargo on, means it will be subscription based for the next 2 years, or suppose say 3 years. But after 3 years they will make the paper easily or freely available to all. Okay, so after 3 years, after you have published your paper, after 3 years of publishing your paper, suppose say they will make it freely available to all. And now it is a open access, but it is a delayed open access because it was not immediately, it was not immediately available to the readers to read free of cost. Okay, so this is another graph that shows the amount of the articles that are published in the uh, open access. And these are all the open access: green, gold, hybrid, bronze. These are all different types of open access. Let's not go into the detailed specifics of what this means right now. So closed means the subscription based models or the limited access journals that we showed, and all these bronze, green, gold and green, these are all the open access model. So you see that now till now around almost like 75% of the journals that are being published, or the 75% of the articles that are being published, are generally in the subscription based model. But as we go on, we'll see that means the world is now changing towards the open access model, and by another 10 or 20 years probably this would be reversed. Only it's like 25% of the journals will be like probably the subscription based, and the remaining 75% will be the open access ones. So and we should also look at what are the different kinds of articles out there. So there are different kinds of articles. For example, the first thing is called the research article. So research article is generally a very descriptive paper, and here you detail out the methodology. Here you detail out the discussion and the results and the discussion, and here it has a definite starting point and a definite ending point, in the sense that you start with the introduction and you finish at the conclusion of the paper. So in this kind of articles, obviously it is also abstract. Abstract is basically the summary of the paper that you are writing. And then again there is something called the letters, and somewhere in some journals it is also known as the communication. So communication or letters are generally regarded as the uh, current uh, uh, current demand, or the or something that you are doing currently, and you want, and you have made a good breakthrough study, and you want to make it available. You want to publish it, and you want to make it available to the readers as soon as possible. So these are generally the letters. So letters are generally very concise in nature. So these are something that you that is something active research that you are doing, and you just immediately want to put it out to the world for others to read. So these are the letters. So there is again something called the letter to the editor. So letter to the editor are generally on some descriptive topic, and these are like more like an opinion piece. You say something on a specific topic to the editor, and these are published at the letters to the editor. We have something called the research notes. Research notes are again something similar to the letter, but they are less urgent. Okay, so the concept of the letter or the communication is that they are generally urgent in the sense that there's something very important that you are doing, and suppose say it is in a very competitive field. Suppose say in a field that is very competitive, that you are also doing, and 10 different research groups are also pursuing the same research. So you have made some incremental uh, advancement. You have made some, suppose say 1% advancement, or you have made some amount of novelty in the work you already have, and you want to put it out there in the world as soon as possible, so that the other research group cannot claim that they have made it first. So that is what research, that is what letters or the communication is. And research note is also similar like letters, but this is also something that you have done and you want to put it out to the world before you are writing the actual article. But research notes are considered less urgent, so they are less urgent. Okay? So whenever some journals that are publishing letters, so the review time is going to be very less. So maybe the review time is going to be 1 week or 2 week and so on. Okay. And then we have something called the supplementary article. So supplementary articles are basically some articles that you have written, and there are obviously there are some page foundations. Suppose say 40 pages is the, suppose say, the page foundation for the article, but there are a lot of additional analysis that you could have given. You have already, in your article, you have already started with a hypothesis, or suppose say the objective of the paper, and by the end of the paper you have already described the objective of the paper, and you have also drawn some conclusions, okay, based on some statistical study or some study. Okay, you have drawn the conclusion in the article, but still there are some conclusions in the paper that you have already given in the paper, in the article, but to justify them, if you could have provided some additional analysis or you could have provided some additional data, it would have been better. So these are known as the supplemental or the supplementary articles. So these are basically not independent on their own. So these are generally reference to some article that you have already published. So in these supplementary articles, you provide additional analysis to the already article that you have provided, or additional data or the additional analysis to the articles that you have already published. And then there is something called the review article. So review articles are generally the what you say. Suppose say there are suppose say you are working in a particular field, and in that particular field you want to see that what other researchers have done. So you arrange everything in a very systematic manner for, suppose say, the last 10 years. This is something called the review article. You do not do any new research, but you do kind of research survey. What you do is that you study what other people have researched for the, suppose say, the last 5 years or the last 10 years, and you present everything in form of a very concise study in this particular article. So review articles are again very important for the research community, because suppose say I am a researcher, and I am a new researcher to a particular field, and I want to research on this field, but I don't know where to begin with. But suppose say if I have a review article available where the researcher has already reviewed, say he has already studied, suppose say 100 papers, and he has given his opinion as well as some analysis on this 100 papers. So what I can do is that I can first read that review paper, and from that review paper I can try to identify which papers would be more suitable for the kind of work that I'm doing. So that is why review papers are so important. Okay. So next is the data paper. Data papers is again something that is again very recent. So what happens is that in most of the studies, even in humanities also, even in engineering also, a lot of big data is created. A lot of big data is being collected or created. For example, in humanities, you use something called the questionnaires. So you collect a lot of data, but when you are writing the paper, you give only the statistical inference of the data, or you give only the concise versions of this data in some kind of form, in some kind of statistical form, but you do not give the actual data. So basically the idea of data papers is that you will present your raw data here, and you will detail out this raw data so that other people can use it. Okay, so the basic concept of these data papers is that basically you are making your data set which is available with you freely available to the others, so that others can also analyze your data, and they can also come up with some conclusions that you may have missed in your own article. Okay? And the last thing is the video papers. So video papers is again something very new, and video papers is something that is very new and something very recent. So in video papers is basically like a small video that you make on your research, and this is again something that the journals are trying out only now. So it is again something very recent. We come to the term of journal indexing. This is perhaps the most important term when you write a particular journal where you want to publish. So generally, the journal indexing is also sometimes called as the bibliographic index. So bibliography basically means the collection of the references. Okay, basically it is the collection of different kinds of references. So bibliography index is intended to help to find a publication. So basically what happens is that, suppose say you are publishing a particular paper, I am also publishing a paper, someone other person is also publishing a paper in the same area. Then what will happen is that all of us are publishing some particular papers in that particular area. But now a third person, and now a fourth person, he wants to study this. So what he can do, he can go to the Google and he can search. So sometimes it may happen is that the whenever he's Google searching, again Google has a definite algorithm to it. So most of the articles, or most of the pages that are viewed more are generally listed above. Suppose my article that I have written is not viewed more. So when a new person is trying to access, or when a new person is trying to search the papers, he may not see my paper, or it may be listed in, suppose say, the third page of Google or the fourth page of Google. It may not show in the first page of Google. Similarly, in journal indexing, what we do is that we group we what we do is that we there are certain journal indexing bodies. Okay, there are some organizations who do the journal indexing. So journal indexing, you can think of journal indexing like a catalog. Okay, suppose say in the catalog of a company, what it does is that it lists all the similar products in a particular catalog. And then suppose say in a furniture store, you are going to buy a furniture. So the furniture owner, he hands you out a catalog, and you see the catalog, and there are different kind of samples that are there, pictures and samples and specifications of the furnitures that you have in that book. And based on that book, you tell him that, okay, this is what I like, please show me this, and so on. So similarly, journal indexing can also be thought of something similar to a catalog. So here what we do is that we group similar kind of journals together in form of a database. But here this similar is not based on uh, the content similarity, but rather this similarity is based on quality. Okay? Here the similarity is based on quality. Again, how quality is measured, there are some different ways to it, that how quality will be measured. So basically, a paper is not indexed, a journal is indexed. Okay, a journal is generally indexed, and then if a journal is indexed, and if you publish any paper in it, or if you publish any article in it, automatically that article is indexed in that particular database. So basically, this bibliographic indexes are also called as the databases. Okay, so it is like it is like you can think of it as like I already gave you the example of catalog. You can also think of it like as a small library. Okay, suppose say you want to make a, will try to explain it in a very lucid manner. Suppose say there is a particular library that you are building at your home. Okay, it's a personal library that you are trying to build at a home. Now in that personal library, you are saying that I will only keep quality books, I will not keep low quality books, or I will not keep again the definition of quality is dependent on you, that what you refer to as quality and what you do not refer to as quality. But you say that I will keep only quality books. So now what you do is that when you go to the market, you buy specific uh, books and you keep it in your library. Certain books that are available in the market make it to your library, and certain books that are available in the market are rejected by your library. So basically, you are making some kind of policy so that in your library only a specific quality of books are available. Similarly, the journal indexing is based on this concept. So it is a database where similar quality journals are grouped together. Okay, there are different kinds of journal indexing that are there, but the most accepted ones are the SCI or the SCIE, and the second one is the Scopus, and then we have some other indexings in the WS or the Web of Science like the ESCI and so on. And Google Scholar is also sometimes referred to as a database, but it is not exactly a database. Rather, it works more like a search engine. But also, for our purposes, we can refer to it as an indexing. But it is more like a search engine. It is more like the Google main search itself. It's not a indexing by itself. Okay, so basically what happens is that, so some journals which maintain a specific quality criteria are shortlisted by the particular organizations who are in charge of this. Suppose say the SCI, we'll study about the SCI. What is SCI? Suppose say the SCI is given by an organization called the Declarative Analytics. So they are in charge of that. Suppose say you have a particular journal. So what you do is that you go to the Declarative Analytics and you fill up some documentation, and you say that I have this journal and I want you to keep this journal in your database. I want you to have this journal placed in your database. So what the Declarative Analytics will do, they will study different kinds of factors like who is on the editorial board, what is the publishing policy, what are the kind of papers that have been published, what is the citation trend, and all this they will study. They have a very detailed methodology that is already listed in their website. That is not important for us. So based on this quality criteria, based on this stringent quality criteria, it is a very strict kind of criteria in terms of when we talk about SCI and SCI. So based on this quality criteria, the journals which pass this criteria are placed in the SCI or the SCI groups. Okay. So, and suppose that there may be some journals which are showing some amount of potential. They are showing some amount of potential. Okay, this is a kind of good journal, but I'm still not sure whether it is a good journal or not. Means the Declarative Analytics thinks in that way, that whether I'm still not sure that it is a good journal or not. But it has definitely shown some potential. So in that case, they put those kind of journals in the ESCI category. So the full form of ESCI is Emerging Sources Citation Index. So whatever the journals are placed in the ESCI, it means that these journals have some kind of a good quality, but still they are still in the nascent phase, or they are still in their infant phase, and some more work has to be done on this, or some more uh, like uh, some more observation on this particular journals is needed before they can be moved up to the SCI list. That is what ESCI basically is. So ESCI is like a stepping stone for going into or entering into the SCI and the SCI list. SCI stands for the Science Citation Index, and SCIE stands for the Science Citation Index Expanded. So these by far are the most reputed indexing groups or the indexings that are available in the scientific community. Then there is next thing, that is something called the Scopus. We'll also discuss what Scopus is. So basically you understood, I hope that you understood what a bibliographic index is. So bibliographic index is nothing but a catalog of same quality, same or similar quality journals that are grouped together. Okay, this is a database that contains journals based on their quality, and all the similar quality journals are grouped together. Okay, so if they pass the quality criteria requirements of SCI, they will be put in the SCI database or the SCI database. And if they pass the quality criteria requirements of the Scopus, so they will be put in the Scopus database, and so on. And now I have also listed Google Scholar here in the bibliography index, but I have put 2 star marks in conditions apply. What conditions apply is that a lot of us believe it to be like a bibliographic index. To some extent, it is like a bibliography index, but it is more like a search engine. So what Google Scholar does is that it tracks all the papers that is available on the internet, because Google has a very powerful search engine, its own search engine it has. So based on that, it searches all the scholarly available articles out there, and it groups them, and it provides links to them, or it categorizes them together. So why I say that Google is almost a indexing but not a indexing is because Google doesn't have any quality requirements, right? So any paper, regardless of the journal on which it is published, it will, if the Google algorithm can find it on the internet, it will be indexed in the Google Scholar. So Google Scholar doesn't have any quality requirement to it. That is why it is not, in my sense, it is rather a search engine, not a bibliographic index. Every bibliography index should have some kind of quality requirement, and the journals must pass that quality requirement to be indexed in that particular body or in that particular indexing. So you look at what SCI and SCI is. When I talk about SCI, I am also talking about SCI. Both of them are not that independent. Both of them are kind of interrelated. So when I'm talking about SCI, I'm talking about SCI and SCIE as a general. So basically the SCI stands for the Science Citation Index, and it was devised by a person called the Eugene Garfield in the 1964. And since then, the SCI has been owned by the Declarative Analytics Group, and the Declarative Analytics Group is being owned by the Thomson Reuters Group. So another business important fact here is that another business of Thomson Reuters is the Springer Publications. So Springer is also a sub business of the same Thomson Reuters Group, and Declarative Analytics is also a sub business of this Thomson Reuters Group. But both of them are independent, like they are handled by different board of governance and all that, but both of them are under the same parent company. So in general, the SCI are regarded as the most prestigious kind of journals out there. So every time you try to publish, you should try to publish in SCI journals. Okay? And these SCI journals are generally available to you in like two different platforms. Again, platforms are like search engines or the search databases. So they have the SCI. The Declarative Analytics owns two different platforms. One is the Web of Science platform, and one is the SCI search platform. So in both of this, the this is available. The SCI is available on both of this platform. So the website I have listed it here. We'll see more about the SCI in terms of the website and what other information we can gain by looking at the SCI website about a journal. We'll see that in the next part of the video. But right now, that this is the particular website. So you can also, in the meanwhile, you can also go and visit this website. So let me just open this and show you. So this is the Web of Science, or this is the Web of Science website. This is in general the platform for Web of Science. Here it contains information about the SCI, about the ESCI, and some other related indexings also, which are all owned by the same Clarivate Analytics group. So you'll see more about how you can gain some more information on the journals that we are going to publish from that website. We'll see that in the second half. Now I'm just introducing you into the concepts of the different publishing bodies that are out there. The next thing is the Scopus database. Scopus database is a generally more recent one. It was like established in 2004, but since then it has gained a lot of prestige, and it is now regarded as the second most prestigious indexing after the SCI database. So in general, the Scopus database is like at least 3 to 4 times larger than the SCI list, because the quality requirement for the Scopus is a little lower than that of the SCI. So obviously, so when the quality requirement is low, so the number of the journals that are indexed will be more. So right now, I think it is around. So this information is about. This is for 2018 information. So right now, I think it is around 40,000 plus journals in the Scopus database, whereas the SCI has some around, I think around 15,000 in the SCI database. So each of them gives out something called impact factor. We'll study about what impact factor is. So basically, when we say that the Scopus and the SCI, they are judging the journals for their some kind of quality. So after they evaluate it for their quality, they also have to give some kind of marks, obviously. So we being teachers, we know that whenever we evaluate some answer scripts of some student, we have to give some marks so that we can give them some feedback, and so that their parents or anyone who is interested in their progress, they know that what is the progress of my child. Similarly, in this case also, in the case of SCI and the Scopus also, what they do is that after they evaluate the journals, they give some kind of metric to it, or they give some kind of performance metric to it, performance measurement to it. In case of SCI, it is called the impact factor, and in case of Scopus, they give 4 different quality measures. These are generally H index, site score, SGR, and SNIP. Among them, the SGR is the most important criteria. We'll see what SGR is and how we should use them when we are trying to publish, and what we should look at when we're trying to publish. So again, the website for the Scopus also, I have listed it out here. So we'll again look into this website and all the information that we can get in the publishing before on this website. We'll look into that. And then the last thing that I wanted to discuss was about the uh, Google Scholar. So as I told you, Google Scholar is basically a web search engine. It is not a indexing as such, but it provides you the uh, it provides you with a database. So in that sense, it is also a bibliographic database. But since there is no quality requirement for entering the Google Scholar database, so in that sense, it is like a pseudo kind of thing. It is a pseudo kind of indexing. So it was again launched in like around the same time when the Scopus was launched. It was launched in the 2004, and All these other databases, they release some data every year regarding how many articles are there in their database and how many journals are there. But Google Scholar, they do not publish that kind of information. But last year it was estimated that around 389 million documents are there in the Google Scholar database. Because Google Scholar is freely available, it will, anything that can be searched by the Google Scholar engine, by the Google engine, can be searched by the Google Scholar also. So that is why the this is very high. So uh, don't fall into the trap of the journals that they say that we are Google Scholar index journals. If they do not have any other indexing, and if they have suppose only Google Scholar indexing, so don't fall into the trap. You do not need anything to be indexed in the Google Scholar, because if it is being searchable by the Google engine, then definitely it will show in the Google Scholar, obviously. So there is no quality requirement to enter in the Google Scholar. It's from a journal side. So that is not a indexing in that way, right? So so the website for this is Google, sorry, this is scholargoogle.com. So www.scholargoogle.com is the website for Google Scholar. So I hope that this session was somewhat informative, and at least some new information you have gained from this session. So we'll again try to look more about all this in our upcoming session, which probably we'll conduct in the afternoon today, or maybe tomorrow first half. We'll try to conduct that. So we'll try to look into some more details about the publishing and what you should look at when you are publishing. Thank you.